Hey everyone, it's Joe from the Strange Voyage Files, and it has been forever since I've done a movie. One of the things that I always said I wanted to do when I got rid of that Real Reviewing Guy channel and then became the Strange Voyage Files was that I'm always going to live with doing, metal albums, but that I really wanted to do more movies and whatnot. And I did a few for a while, and then I kind of focused more on the music, and that with Ozzy's passing, it really kind of pushed back into that phase. But the when I do movies, it's going to be 70s and 80s stuff for the most part, and a lot of them will be these um, screwball comedies from the 80s, and this is definitely one, just one of the guys. This is a teen comedy. This movie's awesome. This movie is absolutely positively awesome. Blu-ray. I don't think it's on 4K, but probably get it really cheap on Amazon or eBay. But the movie is phenomenal. It is an absolute 80s comedy classic. Now, I'm sure somebody's would get offended by it because the whole premise of the movie is that a girl cuts her hair, dresses up as a boy to go to another high school. We'll get into why she does that in a second, but I'm sure somebody would get offended watching it today. Just don't watch the movie. There's it solves your problem. Um, but the movie is funny because you do have this uh, girl who is a writer for the school paper, and she writes the. She's trying to get a scholarship, an award scholarship, and she writes a piece. I believe it's on the food in the cafeteria, and the teacher, who is the moderator of the school paper, rejects it, and she thinks that it's because she's a girl. Now, I will say, I'm not one to say, oh, the movie hasn't aged well, it's cringeworthy. There is just a couple lines of dialogue in this movie that I think were bad even back in the 80s. There's two. So when her name's Terry, and when Terry goes to talk to the teacher who's running the show for as far as the school paper, she's in his office and he doesn't see her. And the teacher's walking with another teacher. They're talking about Terry, and the other guy is talking about, what's her skirt and her legs and whatnot, and they're both laughing. That was, I mean, even for the 80s, for teachers to be talking about a teenage girl like that, I'm really surprised that was in the movie. Yeah, there was a lot of teen sex in 80s movies, teens and teens and teens. That was the 80s. It is what it is. You really didn't. Yeah, that was cringy back then. That was when I remember that, and I saw this, before I was in high school, and going, oh, that what they think? Is that what's going on? Is that so that was if there's gonna be anything that's cringeworthy for me in that movie, that should have just been taken out. That absolutely should have been taken out. Um but she gets her story rejected. So then she cuts her hair, she dresses up as a boy and goes to a different school and submits. I think this is a tidbit that people kind of overlook. She submits the same article to the teacher who is the guy who runs a newspaper at the new school, and I'm assuming she had to change it because she's talking about food in the cafeteria at her previous school, but he rejects it too. And he says, Joel, we got about a month or whatever, you can resubmit something. So now she's going off the premise, okay, this is a story being rejected by a guy. She kind of starts to realize that her story just isn't good, that her subject matter, is not strong enough. So she starts looking for another story. Well, of course, the story falls into her lap. She meets this guy, Rick, who's, and again, we go into a lot of the 80s stereotypes of, you have the jocks and you have the cool people and the dorks. And, Rick is kind of a loner dork. He's not like a bad boy loner. He's a dorky loner and whatnot. He's really into James Brown. Really nice guy, though. And from the second they meet, she's going to fall in love with him. So, she meets this guy Rick, and they become best friends, and of course, feelings start. Now, she has a boyfriend who's in college. Um, that is, the typical frat boy, arrogant, rich ass, and she loses interest in this guy very, very rapidly. Um, and then she's got a little brother. Side plot to this is her parents are away on vacation for the month or whatever. So, and of course they're rich. All these people, Ferris Bueller, all these people in these movies, these kids were rich. So it's her and her little brother alone for like a month. The little brother is like Bud Bundy on sex steroids. The second his parents are gone, he puts pictures of Playmates centerfolds all over his room. He's just consumed by sex. That's all he talks about. That's all he thinks about. Whole thing. And he's really the comic relief, of the movie. And he is hilarious. You have her best friend who is just a normal person, but she kind of they needed to have a character who she could be throwing ideas off of and whatnot. And that's basically what the best friend's role is in this movie. And it's kind of it all ends up at prom, and she needs a date to prom. So the best friend, I think, also has to be set up so she has somebody to go to prom with as a boy. Trying to think what else before we get to the big one. You have a montage of people who you see in other 80s movies throughout this. There's a guy who's obsessed with lizards and reptiles and whatnot, who's in Friday the 13th Part 2, the guy with the red hair, the funny guy. He's in there. There's a couple guys who are like total sci-fi dorks, and you see both these guys through again in bit roles throughout 80s movies. There's of course the scene where as a boy now she's got to go to PE class and shower, and she sets off the fire alarm, the sprinkler, so she doesn't have to shower. And then of course then she's out in the gym, and the coach puts her on the skins team back when you could do shirts and skins, and she fakes a cramp, a stomach cramp, and then she gets a medical note, and she thinks she's just going to go to study hall, but she ends up being the towel boy who's giving the towels to all the guys walking into the shower. So there's that. There is Sherilyn Fenn, my God, one of the most beautiful women that has ever walked the face of the earth is in this movie. She plays this kind of Madonna-ish type girl who is in love with Terry, and Terry is very annoyed by this, but Sherilyn Fenn's character continuously pursues her. So it's almost like a big Three's Company episode where there's everyone's misunderstanding and think everything that could go wrong goes wrong. And Sherilyn Fenn's character actually ends up with the brother in the end. So that's kind of funny. And it fits because Sherilyn Fenn's character is kind of a sex maniac too. She's trying to jump Rick, or not Rick's the friend, Terry, throughout the movie. So, yeah, then as the movie progresses, Rick, becomes more stylish and cool and whatnot. And there's the popular girl who's not really mean. She's actually very nice. I can't remember her name. Brenda? I don't remember her name, but there's a popular girl in the movie who's dating the jock, the guy who's who runs the school and is the bad boy. I'm going to get to that in a second. Of course, the bad boy's antics, where he's constantly picking on people, and he's picking on Rick all the time, and he's picking on the dorky kids. Eventually just gets on the girlfriend's nerves, the popular girl, and she ends up breaking up with him, and Rick asks her to prom. And at prom, Terry realizes that she's in love with Rick. And of course, this is typical 80s fashion. The only way she can prove to him that she's a girl is by flashing him. So you have the gratuitous nude scene, typical 80s. And, Rick, of course, rejects her at first, but she writes this up as a story, her life being a boy, and of course it wins the prize and she gets the scholarship. There's also a job at a paper that she gets, the whole thing. Maybe it wasn't a scholarship. I know there was a job. Could have been, but whatever. So she wins. Then, of course, in the end, Rick finds her and they drive off together. Now, here's a weird thing. The brother is with her at the end because I think she's teaching him how to drive, or he's got his permit. And this motorcyclist pulls up a girl, and the brother gets on the back of the bike and just rides off with this woman. What's weird about it is the woman riding the motorcycle looks like she's 45 years old. And she may not have been, but it was really... I watched this with Madison. I watched it with both of them, but I watched it with Madison first, and she said the same thing. She's like, looks like it would be his mother. So I thought that, Madison thought that. I don't know. It was the motorcycle girl was not good casting at all. But of course they end up together in the end, and the movie just has a lot of funny parts to it. There's a point where Terry's drunk and it ends up going out with Sherilyn Fenn. And Sherilyn Fenn tries to set Rick up with her cousin. Her cousin ends up being in 6th grade. And Rick has and there's no cringiness of that at all because Rick has no interest in her whatsoever and really goes over the top to let you know that he has no interest in this 6th grade girl. And in fact, while they're all drinking beers, she's drinking a Coke. So they really set that up to be okay, where no part of that scene was going to be bad. But she got Terry after they're at, it's called the cave. So Terry comes back and her boyfriend, the college guy, is waiting for her. And at any point, the brother is trying to invites this girl over for tutoring, and of course he's trying to hit on her. He's trying to make the moves on her, and she has no interest in him. So you flash to the scene of the brother, this girl who's there to get math help or to help him with math, however the hell it worked out. And the boyfriend, Terry's boyfriend, the boyfriend's like, all right, we're on the next problem. Let's keep working. It's funny. It really is just a funny movie. I don't believe the one thing that I think is a real problem, and no, it's nothing that's going to offend anyone. They did not use the guy who is the bully in this movie. I don't care. 80s bad guys. Darth Sidious. The Terminator. Jason. Freddy. Hey, you can pull out Skeletor from the Masters of the Universe movie. Nobody touches the ultimate bad boy of the 80s, Billy Zabka. Yes, Johnny Lawrence himself is, again, the bad guy in this movie. William Zabka is the bully. It's basically Johnny Lawrence. It's a shame because he really got typecast. He plays Johnny Lawrence in Karate Kid, basically plays Johnny Lawrence in this movie, and then he plays Johnny Lawrence again in Back to School. And he's the nicest guy in the world. By every account, everything I've ever seen, William Zabka is the absolute opposite of this character he was consistently playing. He is supposed to be the absolute nicest person. Every fan interaction has been great. And there is a scene, this is funny, and I'm sure this was because this movie's after Karate Kid. I'm sure this was a little under the radar Easter egg. Sherilyn Fenn, when she first sees Terry as a boy, she's describing him, what she thinks of him to a friend, says he looks like the Karate Kid. He did. Terry does look like Ralph Macchio a bit. She got that Italian look to her, same kind of hair. So it's kind of funny, and I'm sure they threw that line in on purpose to have, now this funny, not malevolence or whatever it may be between these two characters of Johnny Lawrence and a female Karate Kid now. But the movie is just funny. It's very lighthearted. It's very predictable. You know how it's going to end. Everybody walking into the theater knew how it was going to end. But it's funny. It's got so many funny parts to it. The brother makes the movie. He is hilarious. And the two of them, here's what I really love what they did. Because it was very easy to make Terry and her brother, and I can't think of what the brother's name is in the movie. He's an actor again. You know he popped into a bunch of other roles. Yeah, they do quarrel, but they like each other. You see this all the time. You saw this in 16 Candles. You saw it in Married with Children. You saw where the younger brother and the older sister just hate each other. You even kind of see it in especially Christmas Vacation, but in the vacation movies. More the first one in Christmas Vacation, not as much. They actually got along okay in European Vacation. But they don't hate each other in this movie, and I think that works. There is that sibling, arguing back and forth, but they don't hate each other. And it was, I think, whether that was a conscious idea or not a conscious idea, that was very smart on the writer, director, producer's part to do that, to make them actually like each other. They do cover for each other. And it's not like, oh, we're covered at the last minute, I'm finally going to show I care about you. No, it's just like, this is how it is. You can tell this is our relationship. So it's really, really cool. Absolutely funny movie. Again, if you're going to be offended about a girl dressing up as a boy and trying to pretend to be a boy, then you're not going to like this movie. Don't watch it. It's funny. There is, in my opinion, with the exception of that teacher talk, which should have been cut out of the movie, not offensive at all. Great movie. Highly, highly, highly recommended. Again, I don't give ratings like 1 to 5 or anything for movies. If I just say whether I like it or not. Absolutely love this movie. If you have not seen it, and especially if you love 80s, I don't even know. Well, yeah, I guess it's a romantic comedy. But it's more of just kind of a straight comedy. If you like that type of stuff from the 80s, then you have not seen this. This is a movie for you. Tell me what you think. I don't know. Were you offended by it? Or, whatever it may be. Like, subscribe, and all that stuff. And I will see ya.